Please join us today, Erik Nieves, for the Humanoid Hype.
Before starting Plus One 7 or 8 years ago, I spent 25 years at Yaskawa, 2 booths over, working for this guy for a lot of that, and was responsible for the technology roadmap. And fundamentally, I just got tired of having to answer the questions from prospective customers that's needed perception and grasping, right? You know, we kept telling these people that were warehouse folks, you don't have a robot problem, you have a perception problem, and we can't help you. So fundamentally, we left to start Plus One to help them. So this is Figure's latest video, and this is, meaningful to us because this is a process we're very involved in parcel sortation, right? They've got a number of these arms. They're coming off of bulk flow and singulating them, and they're facing them, right? Which I thought was pretty impressive, and they have a number of these. Okay, can you back up, do it again, and I'll tell you when to hit pause. All right, go ahead and stop there. Okay. Anytime I see something like this, what I look at is how much, everybody wants to focus on what the hands are doing. I want to focus on what the legs are doing. What are the legs doing here? Nothing. They're doing nothing, right? The point is, mobility isn't really that necessary in a lot of these cases, right? Henry Ford figured out a long time ago that if you're doing anything at volumes, it is better to bring the work to the people than it is to move the people to the work, right? And so in a situation like this, you have excess technology that you are paying for, right? There is excess technology here because you have a whole bunch of actuation from this waist down that is adding no value. Amazon, they don't have people walking up and down aisles anymore. They bring the parcels or the eaches to the, to the operators, right? The other is they do have 2 hands, and that is significant, right? Every job I ever did before this is, the robot has 1 hand tied behind its back, and you have to deconstruct every process into how would I do this with 1 hand? And it breaks into a series of applications, right? In this instance, because he had 2 hands, he was saying, okay, I need to have this face up. If it didn't see the label up, it transferred it with the other hand. That's actually very impressive to me. And I think this is something that is important that will come from the humanoid space, right? Is, bilateral manipulation, hand-to-hand coordination, right? Go ahead. All right. And then the other is, of course, they had to speed it up because in real time, it's just too slow. The rule is robots get faster over time. And that's going to be true for humanoids as well. But the fact is they're not fast enough today, and they're not going to be fast enough for a good while, right? And in no point will it ever be faster than a dedicated machine for that process, right? And so, it's something to keep in mind when we talk about general versus, right? So, this is what Gartner's big thing about the hype cycle, right? And there's always this hype cycle curve. I don't want to talk about robots. I don't want to talk about drones. I don't want to talk about any of the stuff on here. Every hype cycle is the same. I don't care if you're talking about equipment or if you're talking about Tokyo real estate in the 80s, right? It always is. You end up with a whole lot of money being concentrated in a small theme over a short duration of time, right? And it leads to outsized expectations for the, results. That's what a hype cycle is. It's independent of the thing. It's just people got excited and they put a lot of money in a short amount of time into that thing, and as a result, they have expectations of the return that are by definition now outsized, meaning they can't possibly meet what they said they were going to do or what the hope was. That's where we're at with, humanoids and that type of thing, and general function AI as well. It's all way up here. You got a lot of money going into that theme, but as a result, the expectations are too high and it will come crashing down, and then ultimately you will plateau to utility, right? That's just the way technology works. So we're here somewhere. I thought we had crested on the hype cycle for humanoids, but every time I turn around, there's another unicorn being minted in that space. You know, another $300 million funding round for somebody else I never heard of, right? So clearly, you know, that's where we're at with it. And what that's going to mean is, nope, it can't possibly do the things that people have in mind for it. Why is that in specific for robots is often you don't need everything that the humanoids are trying to do. This is what I meant about the legs, right? I get why we are enthralled with mimicking the human form factor, right? There's something in our reptile brain or something that says, you know, should be able to do everything I do because it looks like me, right? That's kind of the thinking. That's what we get into this. And yet, the problem is we're over spec for a lot of the applications. Right? We don't need legs half the time when we're working. I stand in one spot, the stuff comes to me, I do it, it goes on. And so, you know, a humanoid today is 2 arms, 2 legs, and perception and compute. Right? And okay, I do think that 2 arms is important. Does it need legs, or are wheels just good enough? And at least some of the humanoid folks are starting to understand that, hey, everywhere I'm going, the warehouse, the factory is a flat floor. And that's good enough, which means wheels are good enough. You really need bipedal locomotion out of doors, where I've got terrain, where I've got a, you know, balance and that type of thing. But if it's a flat floor, hey, all I know is every forklift the last 40 years has had wheels on it and it's done just fine, right? In the space. So legs are over spec for the space. So use wheels where you can. And then, does it or does it not have to be autonomous? A lot of what you're seeing is humanoids with some perception stack, you know, performing some function, usually moving a tote of some kind at some rate. Right? Those are very simple applications. But if you're going to do anything of any consequence, my guess is the autonomy stack is going to fail. Right? As a result, the company that, you know, sort of I'm excited about are the ones that own that they are teleoperated. Right? We showed Figure. You remember the early Figure videos, they got completely slammed because it ended up being, what, a guy in a nylon suit or something like that, right? We're like, come on, man. And a lot of the videos you see now, everybody has to ask the question, is there somebody off camera teleoperating it, or was that truly autonomous, right? And they'll try to tell you, well, you know, this is autonomous or it's going to be or whatever. I actually take a different tack. Just own it, that it's teleoperated, and say, that's how we're going to do it. And, you know, the one company that, you know, I've seen that actually sort of embraces that is these Reflex guys, right? Reflex, 2 arms, wheels, not legs, and we own that it's teleoperated, meaning we know that the autonomy can't do what this operation is going to need, so I'm just going to teleoperate it from remote. But there's going to be a force multiplier because I can teleoperate this one for, you know, a few minutes till it gets the thing. And then once it's in the sort of low complexity transport piece of its cycle, it can do that by itself while I'm teleoperating another one. So that's the thing. You got to get a force multiplier. If you're going to do anything in automation, stop thinking about replacing people and start thinking about just using it as a force multiplier, right? So humanoids are trying to be general purpose, right? They want to be general purpose and high performance. But the only general purpose, high performance manipulator you've got is your labor. And that's if you can get them motivated, right? Really, they're going to stay here. General purpose, maybe, but they're definitely going to be low on the performance threshold. That's not a knock on humanoids. That's just an understanding that if I have a general purpose machine versus a purpose-built machine, the purpose-built machine's going to do it better and faster. It just is. So where we live, our customers require really high throughput. The humanoids are just too slow, so we end up doing industrial robots to do these applications. But the software stack is different, right? For humanoids to work, they absolutely have to have foundation model level AI. That's their whole notion, and that's where a lot of that money is going. When they're saying, I raised 350 million of it, the large portion of that's not going to electromechanical stuff. It's to a lot of professors out there trying to help them with the AI stack, trying to do this, foundation model. Right? It's not clear that's actually going to pan out. But if you take some of the learnings on those models and turn them into smaller, focused pieces, you can actually move the needle for this set of applications on industrial robots. So in the end, I'm actually very bullish. I'm happy that the humanoid hype cycle is real, because when you put that much money into that many smart people, something good will come from it, right? But the good that's going to come from it is actually going to be manifest here. It's going to be in industrial applications using industrial gear that then just notch it up because they have a little bit more capability. So, I believe 5 years from now, you'll come back. I guess it'll have to be 6 years because it's an even year show, right? 6 years from now, you're going to come back. You'll see a lot of two-armed systems doing, some kind of ambidextrous application, but it's going to be more robots like Yaskawa, Fanuc, ABB, KUKA, Denso that are doing it than it is any humanoid. Where'd they get it? They thanked their humanoid pals for developing it, and we just applied it, right? So this is our system for dual arm induction that I think is a video, right? So, what we do at Plus One is a purpose-built, AI-enabled, two-armed system. It doesn't need legs because the parcels are going to flow to us. And so the parcels flow in as this never-ending river. The robots use vision and AI to find them, pick them, place them, inspect them, and send them on their way. But this system today, really those are two robots acting independently. By the time we come back, and it's 6 years from now, you're going to have a parcel go through there that's overweight for one of the arms, and the other arm's going to come in, and they're both going to cooperate and help it. You're going to have a package that comes in that, is just faced the wrong direction, and one's going to hand it to the other and do some sort of process. But that's a high-performance machine rather than a general-purpose machine. All right? So you want an adaptable, resilient solution? You better have it be purpose-built for a series of, applications. And that's how we think about it, right? Any questions? Okay, good. All right. Thank you.